Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for not wanting my 16 female parents, 51 male and 43 female, to have shared custody of me. After a lengthy and drawn-out process, my parents have decided to divorce. The fact that they had to spend a lot more time together, since they both had to work from home, was the last straw. I realize I seem a little cold and callous about all of this, but at this point, I believe that everyone is best off if they separate themselves from one another. The last 4 years have been filled with constant arguments, cheating, and other misdemeanors, and my mother, in particular, has been using me as an emotional support animal, which I have had enough of. By some miracle bestowed upon them by the very gods, they have managed to remain friendly, at least when it comes to dividing their cash, their belongings, and everything else. My mother has moved in with her new partner, and my father has retained ownership of the home. The fact that they had finally figured it all out meant that there was only one thing left for them to decide: what to do with me. Unfortunately, they believed I would want to spend 1 week in my father's house and the other at my mother's house, and this is just not an option for me. When they told me what they had decided, I said no and stated that I wanted to remain with my father for a variety of reasons, including the fact that I attend school here and work here, and I didn't want my work to be disrupted. But in reality, it has a lot more to do with my disliking my mother's boyfriend, who is one of the men with whom she cheated before you ask. My father cheated on numerous occasions. And who has 2 children, I have no interest in living with 2 random children 50% of the time, of his own who live with him full-time. And the fact that I am a lot closer to my father in general. We are a lot more alike, and he isn't. When I told my mother this, she broke down and asked me to remain with her full-time instead. When I refused, she threatened to take me to court, but my father pointed out that it would be a waste of time since I am of an age where my choice would be considered permanent. Because of this, my mother's side of the family has gotten involved, telling me that I need to be sensitive to her emotions and support her, and my grandmother has gone so far as to insist that I relocate to my mother's home. I am well aware that I am not the most emphatic person in the world, far from it, and that I have a propensity to simply see things from my own point of view. But my mother is plainly distraught about this, and she calls me many times a day weeping. I'd want to know whether I'm the jerk in this situation, so please be honest. Story 2. AITA for wanting my girlfriend to take a pregnancy test. 6 years have passed since I, a 26-year-old male, and my girlfriend, a 25-year-old female, first met. I believe she is expecting a child. I've tried to get her to take a test, but she has refused. She's been complaining about feeling unwell for the last month or so, and she's right. She's been incredibly weary and exhausted, and she's been complaining of back pain and headaches, as well as feeling bloated and generally unwell. I inquired as to whether she believed she needed to consult with a doctor, not necessarily because I thought she was pregnant, but just out of concern for her health in general. She responded affirmatively, assuming it was allergies or that her period was about to begin. Her menstruation is quite regular to the point where I can almost trace it down. She claims that this has always been her way, and that she has seldom taken more than a day or 2 off in a row. As a result, when she was expected to begin earlier this month but didn't, she seemed a little worried. When she was a week late, I pointed out that she hadn't been feeling well and suggested that she may want to consider getting a pregnancy test. She said that there was no way she could be pregnant and that she was most likely simply re-regulating or something along those lines. I suggested that taking a test wouldn't harm, just to be sure, but she wasn't having it, so I backed out of the conversation. A number of her concerns and phobias are unfounded, one of which being emetophobia, the dread of vomit, which she possesses. Her battle with this issue has been ongoing since she was a child. Even someone in her immediate vicinity complaining of feeling unwell would usually drive her into full-blown panic mode. She was scheduled to go see her grandmother on Thursday night, so I was startled to find her sleeping on the sofa when I returned home from work. I asked her if she was coming home early, and she said that she was not. When I inquired as to why, she said that she had been feeling nauseated while driving home and had chosen not to attend. I inquired as to her well-being and questioned her sickness. She assured me that it was nothing serious and that it was probably something she ate. Being nauseated for any reason would ordinarily cause her to panic out, but she's suddenly acting so casually about it that it's almost comical. She brushed it aside as though it were no big deal once again. I brought up the idea of taking a pregnancy test again, saying that she had all of these symptoms, so why not simply take a test and find out? If she is, that means she is. If she isn't, it means she isn't, and then we can rest our minds at ease. We had a little back and forth, but the essence of her argument is that she is not pregnant, that there is no way she is pregnant, and that she wishes I would just drop the subject. She stormed off to bed, and I took up residence in the guest room, and that was the end of it. She's been giving me the cold shoulder since Thursday night, and it's getting worse. Communication is something we're generally good at. I'm at a loss for what to do since this is perhaps the worst disagreement we've ever had together. Do I have to apologize? I didn't believe I was doing anything illegal, but it's possible that I should have kept my tongue in my cheek. I'm not trying to push her. I'm just concerned about her well-being. If she is pregnant, she must seek medical attention as soon as possible. If she isn't, there may be something else wrong with her health that she should get looked at right away. Edit: I accidentally over the character limit when I submitted this, and in my condensed version, I believe I left some important details out. But there's something I need to clarify. We've spoken about having children in the past, and as far as I'm aware, we both want them. However, it is a topic for another day, since it was a chat we had before we even began dating. Everything had been okay up until this point, and we both seemed to be on the same page in terms of our future plans. If she is pregnant, she is not going to wait until it is too late to take action, which will keep me trapped in the relationship. I adore her beyond all else, and I have no intention of abandoning her, whether she is pregnant or not. Update: to answer everyone's question, yes, she is indeed expecting a child, and yes, it is mine. She is around 5 months pregnant, and both she and the baby are doing well. It occurred to me after writing my original post that I should take into consideration some of the comments I'd received, so I decided to withdraw it for the time being. Prior to getting into another major disagreement, in which we were unable to talk for many days, we reconciled. When I returned home from work one evening, she was weeping. We were finally able to communicate because she finally opened up. As was to be anticipated, she was terrified and in denial. While marriage and children were something we both agreed we wanted, she was in a rush, and I was in no hurry to be married or have children. Our network includes 10 individuals who were married, engaged, or had children in the previous year. I believe she was under some kind of strain, and we explored the possibility of being less cautious about birth control. I don't believe either of us anticipated it to happen so quickly, and we both acknowledged that we should have done a better job of planning ahead of time. The moment she was confronted with the potential of being pregnant, she stated that she wasn't emotionally prepared, but she was also afraid that, even if she wasn't pregnant, something was wrong with her, given that she didn't seem to be her usual self. She simply didn't want to deal with any of the scenarios. This was especially true given the fact that her father was facing a cancer scare at the time. After a lengthy discussion about all of the what-ifs, her fears, and her alternatives, we came to a conclusion. It put her at ease enough for her to phone her doctor, who was really understanding. Even though we weren't astonished to learn that she was expecting a child, we were a bit startled to see that she was not quite as far along as we had anticipated. The doctor found that the symptoms she was experiencing, which led us to believe she was pregnant, were really caused by stress and a lack of sufficient self-care, rather than by being pregnant. As a result of various family concerns, the last several months have been quite difficult emotionally for many people. But, other from that, she is in excellent health and doing really well. We are both apprehensive and eager as we look ahead to the conclusion of the month of April.